author and philanthropist Mitch Albom on why he believes giving is living. And say nice things about Detroit. Nothing but good news on today's Roundtable. Because today is Sunday, December 25th, Christmas Day 2016, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. A very Merry Christmas to you. I'm so glad you're sharing part of this special morning with us. We don't get many chances to be with you on Christmas, and frankly, as much as I love a good drill down on politics or government policy or ethics or international affairs, none of it seems quite right for the morning of December 25th. In the book of Luke, the angel said, "I bring you good tidings of great joy." So this morning, I'm sticking with good tidings, the good news that is around us right now. What are the best things that are happening in Detroit? What are the bright things ahead of us as we turn the page to 2017? Coming up this morning, I've assembled a good news roundtable. Great group of those in the know who'll bring us up to speed on the best things they've seen, whether it's right now or right around the corner. But we're going to start things off with a guy who's made a career out of good news, out of hope, out of finding the best in us, even when it's maybe nowhere to be found, we think. Well, for the second year in a row, his tale of good news in Detroit includes raising more than $1 million to help his far-reaching charities. We'll chat with Mitch Albom up first on this Christmas morning edition of Flashpoint. All right, 2 weeks ago, Mitch Albom spent a long day on the radio, and as he did last year, he raised more than $1 million for his Say Detroit charities. In the process, giving away homes to grateful families and also showcasing the generosity of a region that always seems to pitch in. Great to have Mitch back with me on Flashpoint on this Christmas morning.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming, Mitch.
Merry
really
Christmas to you.
Thank you. You too. Let's start with what we watched happen and unfold at your radiothon. $1 million. We get very blithe about, you know, that amount of money as we hear it bandied about in government spending and things like that. It's still an extremely a large amount of money.
Oh, yeah.
And to raise it in a local fundraising effort is extraordinary. You've now done it 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I was stunned when we had it happen last year, and I really thought going into this year, well, that was probably a freak year. And plus, honestly, I thought with the election and the mood of the country, I'm not sure that charitable and helping one another out was the spirit. But it may not be in the rest of the country, but it sure is around here. And I've gotten a lot of pats on the back for that I don't deserve. I was just the ringleader in the foxhole, of all the mayhem there. It was all the people who donated that made it $1 million. And I think one of the reasons that they did, if I had to guess, is because they know that all of that $1,051,000 will be spent on needy people and will be given away in March or April, literally all of it allocated with no administrative fee.
In fact, that's where you do deserve the credit, though. Number one, you cover the administrative expenses, but I think people have clearly developed a sense of trust about what you're doing with the money. It goes in a lot of different directions. Yeah. Everything now from, well, the home improvements that we talked about, that I mentioned, but also to the water ice project. I mean, it goes in a lot of different directions, but I think people clearly seem to have a level of trust that you're doing the right thing with it.
There's been a sophistication in people's giving to charity. One, I just think people get smarter and they have the internet and they can check things out on the internet, which is why we post our tax returns on the internet. But two, I think they've been burned. There's been a number of charities that have been exposed as not being what they said they were. Also, the percentages, now that, again, everything is public, you find out that a lot of charities, including very reputable ones that we've all heard of, but I won't mention, you give $1 to them, well, 40 cents comes right off the top to pay for the salaries for the person making $1.2 million to head up the charity and the lobby of their beautiful building and the artwork on the walls and the Xerox machines. And it takes a lot to run a charity. We have none of that. I mean, you're looking at the 0.0 salary of the guy who heads it up. We don't have offices. We basically operate out of the back of our cars or in my office in the back room. And so we also try to make sure that you can see where your dollars go. We never hand money out to people. We have a daycare center. You can go down and visit at any time. I can take you over there right now, and you can see the babies swinging in the little cribs. 5 days old, some of them. We have a medical center for homeless children and their mothers. I can take you at any point and show you the waiting room and the doctors.
This is kind of what was part of what I wanted to get to. Is you're kind of at the cutting edge of this debate that we have in America about what do we do about poverty, about people in need. And clearly, over the years, a lot of people have thrown money at this problem in the wrong way. A lot of it's wasted. A lot of it comes from a lack of understanding of what works. And I'm really curious as to what you've decided works.
What works is a hand up as opposed to a hand out. What works is empowerment instead of just lecturing. What works is showing that you are not thought of as a second-class citizen and we're just doing this out of pity. So, for example, at our Lipke Play Center, which we took over that abandoned rec center, Matthew Stafford built a football field there, the Tigers built baseball, the Pistons got involved with the gym, all kinds of people. Yes, it's a beautiful facility in what is considered the most dangerous neighborhood in America by zip code and statistics. But you can't just walk in there and just start playing basketball. You have to sign with your parents or guardians, whatever, a statement that says, I am going to work to get my grades over a 3.0, and I'm not going to miss a certain amount of attendance school, or you're not going to be here. And so there's a vested interest in both parties. It's not just some rich people from the suburbs coming in and giving you this place and say, you deserve this because you're poor. You know, just because somebody's poor doesn't mean they're stupid. And just because somebody doesn't have means doesn't mean they don't know what's going on. They can tell when something's being done out of false pity or someone just feeling good about themselves versus someone wanting to be involved in the community. And that's why I take great pride in, I know where all our places are. I'm recognized when I go in there, as are all of our staff. We're there, and so are our people. And we try to say, look, the premise of our charities is it really could have been us. And, you know, I've told you that story before when what started Say Detroit, when I went down to a homeless shelter and I stayed online to spend a night there, and a guy in front of me turned around and said, aren't you Mitch Albom? And I said, yes. And he looked me up and down. He said, what happened to you? And, you know, and I laughed, and, you know, everybody laughs when I tell them that story. But the fact is, I never forgot that. And that was really what forged Say Detroit, was the fact that that's not an unfair question. That could have been me. And it could be you, and it could be any of us if a few things go wrong. So we approach our charities from that point of view, and not from some pity, and not from some, well, here's some money, go do with it what you want. So everything that we do is try to lift people back up and get them back on their way, whether it's giving them a home if they work and if they keep their families together and if they can pay the bills for 2 years, or veterans' kitchens that don't just feed but also teach how to cook. And so we've actually trained people over the years to go work in places as cooks. Everything is sort of to lift up and get back on your way.
One of the things when I look at your body of work when it comes to writing, and I think that this comes out a lot, whether it's your Dreams Deferred pieces that you've done over the years, your books, the play, so much of what you write about seems to be a roadmap toward helping people figure out, finding the good within them, that I think that you, I have to believe that you believe is in everybody, and that we sometimes stumble over trying to find and connect with our own innate goodness.
Yeah, you're right, and I don't know why that's so hard for people. I think probably whoever's watching on Christmas morning has a little bit more of that in them right now than maybe they do the rest of the year. And there is that thing about goodwill towards men. And I am an innate optimist. Somebody once, I remember a critic once wrote something about me thinking that they were taking a jab at me and said, oh, he's the king of hope. And I thought, how can you possibly think that that's a criticism? You know, I would wear that crown proudly. And
there are worse things to have said about you.
Yeah, I mean, he was so cynical, he actually thought that was an insult, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But I think that, you know, I think being hopeful is what it's all about. And I think finding the fact that we're all more alike than different is what it's about. And I was blessed to have been taught that by Maury when I was a young person, by my parents before that, and by many other older people who were smarter than me over the years. So I don't think it's that hard to find good in people. You just have to move some things around, most of it in your own head, and then you're able to see it, and that's what I believe.
Last thing I wanted to ask you is about your work and what you're working on. You've done a million things that a writer would seek to do. You've written bestsellers, you've written musicals, plays, you've watched things turn into movies and television. What's out there creatively that you haven't done yet that still gnaws at you?
Well, nothing gnaws at me anymore, because I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that everything that you just said, most people never get a chance to. So I always say, if everything stopped right now, come on, how could I possibly? So nothing gnaws, to be honest. But we're working on some feature films. I'd really like, we have a feature film that's in development for the John Scott story about that NHL player who became an MVP, was a fighter and became an MVP. And we're working on one about the Magic Strings of Frankie Presto, my most recent book, which was my favorite story that I've told in terms of fiction. And that could be a very big movie. So I'm yet to have one of those big kind of feature film things. And yeah, it'd be nice to have that before, but honestly, it's not out there like it's a bucket list more than it is a desperation list. Meanwhile, what I'd really like to see happen is things improve in Haiti with our orphanage down there, and things along those lines. And my attentions are kind of turned on more of that stuff, most of the day.
Well, we have to share you with the world, but it has always been a really wonderful thing to so many of us that you've kept Detroit at the center of your world.
If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm not going anywhere. I don't know why everybody keeps trying to get rid of me.
I don't know.
31 years already.
We're stuck with him. Mitch, thanks very much for being here this morning. More good news when we continue with this Christmas morning edition of Flashpoint on Local 4 right after this.
One day.
All right, welcome back, and let's stay with good news on this Christmas morning. I've put together a group of those in the know to talk about the best things that are happening in Detroit. Some you may know, others I think will be a surprise. Joining me now, Dennis Archer Jr. of Ignition Media Group. He's added restaurateur to his resume too at Central Kitchen, and more coming. Great to have you here, Dennis. Merry Christmas to you. Jeanette Pierce is the Executive Director of the Detroit Experience Factory. Jeanette, thanks for coming. Chastity Pratt-Dawsey has been here before, columnist for Bridge Magazine, and John Gallagher here, the fine columnist for the Detroit Free Press who focuses on development in Detroit. Merry Christmas, gang. Thank you very much for coming. Dennis, I'll start. We'll just kind of go down the table here first. The most hopeful things that you're seeing right now about what's happening in Detroit.
Devin, I love the neighborhood activity. So much has been focused on what's been happening downtown and what's been happening in our 7.2 square mile expanded greater downtown area. But I'm really excited about what's happening on Livernois and 6 Mile with the Live 6. I'm excited about the expanded businesses happening in the Rosedale Park area, what's going to be happening down on East Jefferson near Chalmers. And so I think that it does take a strong core in downtown to bring interest to the marketplace and to instill confidence into the investment community. But I think that for smaller business people, there's a huge opportunity in the neighborhoods, and I see people taking advantage of it.
That's what I wanted to ask you then. Is it connected with what's happening to what's been going on in downtown and midtown? Because so many people fear that they're disconnected from that in the neighborhoods.
Well, everything doesn't have to happen downtown, right? And so there are some people that want to work and live downtown in a bustling, busy place in a smaller footprint, perhaps no backyard. But there's a lot of people that want to go somewhere where it's a little bit more peaceful, less traffic. They want to live someplace where they have a front yard and a backyard and they can walk the dog down the street. And we have phenomenal, vibrant neighborhoods where that support that sort of activity. They just need to bolster their retail footprint, their service footprint. And that's beginning to happen now.
Jeanette, what are you seeing right now that you like?
I mean, some of those words were right out of my mouth there too. Obviously, the neighborhoods. I think that I'm really looking forward to, even though we took a setback, I think with the RTA and that plan not passing, I think we are having bike share is coming on in the spring, which is going to be 420 bikes and all at once, which is really exciting. We got
it really has become a bike city in a very short period of time when you think about it.
Absolutely, and it's going to just continue to expand. And also, we have made improvements with our existing buses and the reflex buses. So we're talking about neighborhoods and getting people to and from and around the city is a really big part of that. And making these hubs in the 20-minute neighborhood concept of having things so you don't have to travel to the other side of town to get something that you need. You can get it in your neighborhood and all the small businesses that go with that. So I think there's a lot of positive things happening around those issues.
Great. Chastity, how about you? What are you seeing?
Oh, covering the schools, you hear a lot of bad news, especially, covering Detroit schools. But wait, let me turn on my light on my shirt. So get us in the happy mood. It doesn't play music, but just to get us in the happy mood. But this year, when we saw the reform that happened with the Detroit schools, there's a really big opportunity here. We saw 60-some people come out who wanted to run for school board. There's a lot of energy around the hope for what can happen now with the schools, now that the debt is gone, now that there's a school board that is at least partially empowered. There's a lot of hope in what we can do next. Yes, we still need a school improvement plan that talks about the quality of education that's going to be offered in the schools moving forward. But, this is a clean slate in a lot of ways, and I see some people standing up and saying, what can I do to help?
This is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you here. I think some people would have thought if you're going to do a story on good news, you're having the education reporter who covers the city of Detroit. That's a really hopeful thing that you're seeing hope and some good things happening.
Again, when you have 60 people running for school board, you know, there are people who are saying, okay, I want to help, I want to do something, I want to be involved. Just today I was speaking to Leadership Detroit with the regional chamber, and people were saying, what do we need to do? How can we help? What can we say to Lansing? What can we do and get involved to move things forward now that we know that a lot of the bad stuff, at least as far as the debt is concerned, is behind us. Now let's move forward.
It's important, John, because I think that I've talked about this before. How many conversations about Detroit development hit the roadblock and stop when we start saying, well, but the schools?
Right, almost all of them.
Oh yeah, almost all of them.
It's viewed as
we can only go that far. Yeah.
Well, I'll mention 2 cultural things I'm happy about. Music in this town remains par excellence. The other night I went to the Too Hot to Handle concert with great Alvin Waddles on the piano, amazing. And independent bookstores are coming back in an interesting way.
Which is a fascinating turn, because we thought that was the way of the dinosaurs.
Right, we have The Source in Midtown, Janet Jones's place, Pages in Northwest Detroit, Literati, and you're an author. I'm an author. We love bookstores, right?
Yes.
So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, that's great. When we talk about the vibrancy that we see in Midtown and downtown and trying to get that to infect other places, I thought it was a really powerful thing 2 weeks ago, Dennis, to see that first car on the M1 rail line. I know that it's that people have complained that that's just downtown and midtown, but that felt big to me, even though it was being pulled by a tow truck as they're testing it out.
I couldn't be more excited about the Q line coming on board in April of next year for paid service. And I think that I'm hoping that when you look back 5 years from now, that they perhaps will be doing some sort of Harvard Business School case study on how transportation infrastructure can be used as a tool for economic development. Because I think that you are already starting to see along Woodward, in some pockets where you heretofore would not have seen it, development, people buying buildings, rehabbing buildings, and more importantly, it's going east and west. And so there are large-scale developers who are investing, and there are small-scale investors who are buying 1 or 2 houses and fixing them up. There are people that are moving over there in anticipation of being able to walk a few blocks and take a train downtown. And so I think it's going to be incredible.
Gina, did that make you feel, did you feel the way I did watching that, or did it make you more wistful about the RT?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both?
Right. I mean, so it's certainly something, and it's going to have a big impact of connecting, and I think that the investment and development that's going to come because of it, and it's already coming, is one of the major reasons it's happening. It's never was meant to be the answer to transit, right? It was meant to be part of a larger program that included bus rapid transit and getting people to actually connect people to jobs. But I think it is that first step in a place that is historically not super endorsed transit, to sometimes, you know, you got to start somewhere. As a friend of mine says, you got to start somewhere, not everywhere, right?
Just it's one of the things that drives me crazy. So, you know, no good deed goes unpunished, and a lot of times people complain about what something is not instead of appreciating, you know, necessarily what it is. And I think this is a perfect example. I've had people say, well, it's just this, but
it's just 3.4 miles.
But you got to start somewhere. And in fact, I remember John Hertel telling me years ago when he went to Denver and was telling them, we've got all these problems about where do we start a rail line, where do we put it? They said, just start. Right. If you build it, they will come. Things will develop around it.
Well, I mean, you know, this is Detroit, and every time we see something good happen, I think we get so excited. You know, in other places they'd say, oh, it's just 3.4 miles or whatever it is. But I mean, that's something big for us. It's big stuff, and it's okay for us to be happy about it. Like you say, you have to start somewhere, and maybe 5 years from now they'll be looking back and saying, because that was so popular, they finally passed bus rapid transit and regional transportation. Maybe we need to see just how much excitement bubbles up before people, well, we got a couple more years before we can come back at it. Maybe then people will say, hey, we missed our chance before, we're going to do it now.
And John, there is much bigger picture thinking going on. You and I have talked a lot about this master plan for what they do with 375, how we redevelop the whole eastern half, really, of the entryway to downtown. There is big thinking going on.
Yeah, and we're about to hear a lot on the East Riverfront, too. The mayor and Maurice Cox and whole teams of planners have been working on the whole East Riverfront to get those neighborhoods north of Jefferson better connected to the riverfront. We're going to hear a lot more about that early in the new year. And you know, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening. The street lights are coming on. The buses are starting to run on time. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of interesting things coming up.
All right. We come back. I'll ask everybody what's the best thing then that's coming in 2017. This is Flashpoint on Local 4 on Christmas Day.
Monday, not.
Welcome back. Let's start to turn the corner now. I think this time of year, of course, inspires us to look ahead as well as the year that was. 2017 already showing us a lot of things that are going to happen. We know there's going to be the new arena downtown will be open next fall. Beyond that, what else are we seeing? What are you most excited about coming in 2017? Dennis, let's start with you.
Well, it's no surprise I'm a political junkie. So the fact that we have a mayor's race and a city council race, among others, next year in the city of Detroit is exciting. It's going to give the incumbent elected officials an opportunity to state their case as to why they should be reelected. And I think that similar to the school board race that you mentioned earlier, I think you're going to have a ton of people running for city council. And so I think it's going to make for great conversation about how to further improve our city.
Feel good about the district system? We're coming out of the our first turn with that, really.
I do. I think that people feel like they have an individual to go to.
One place, yeah.
I think that eventually there have to be some amendments in the city charter to allow that elected official to actually be able to effectuate change on behalf of their constituent. But I think it's a good first step.
Jeanette, what do you like about what's coming?
Yeah, I mentioned bike share, but the size of it is going to be really impressive, I think, and all of the infrastructure that comes with it, protected bike lanes, and then the education that we need around all of those things. But also, I live in Lafayette Park, and we're very close to Eastern Market, and Eastern Market has always been pretty amazing, celebrating 125 years this year, but their plans for the future to grow and do it in a way that keeps the market the main purpose of the market, which I think is just amazing that Dan Carmody has that as the main purpose, because people want to come in and do all sorts of stuff, and you can do that as long as it's the market is the main thing.
I love that one. All right, Chastity.
If we're going to talk about, we have to step a little bit outside our boundaries and talk about the $170 million that's going to Flint. You know, Merry Christmas, Flint. You know, Uncle Sam is sending you more than $100 million for infrastructure and grants to fix what's going on there. It's something that people have been living with too long, and it's not gonna go all the way there, but that's a lot of money that could do a lot of good.
John, you get the
Well, there's a whole bunch of projects from bike share to the Q line, residential projects. They're all going to hit in 2017, the arena, a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and it's really going to dramatically change that whole greater downtown.
2017 looks to be a pretty exciting year. Thank you all very much for spending Christmas morning with me here, and thank you for spending Christmas morning with us as well. Hope you have a great week. Next year, it'll be our New Year's Day edition of Flashpoint. Meet the Press coming up next. Merry Christmas.